Welcome. And for our next class on the Arizal of the Parsha. The Arizal is the mystical teachings of the Parsha. This week, I'm doing this in honor of my father. His name is Harav Ashliach Baruch Shlomo Eliyahu ben Rachel. They should have a refuah shlema, a complete recovery. It's actually a short teaching from the book of Apples from the Orchard, which you can find online. And it's the teachings of the Arizal, who was a prolific teacher in the teachings of the esoteric teachings of the Torah. And let's go straight to it. It's regarding this week's Torah portion when Jacob, our forefather, was leaving. He was leaving Lavan, his father-in-law, where him and his 4 wives, they built a family where they had the 12 tribes and their sisters. All of them were born with twin sisters. And the Torah tells us he took them and passed them over the brook and did the same with his possessions. And Jacob was left alone, and a person wrestled with him until the dawn. So that's what the verses tells us. So the point that we're going to go to as he went, it says he took them and he did the same with his possessions. And what that means is he went back to go get his possessions. So this is our sages state that the reason Jacob did not cross with his family but remained behind was because he went back to retrieve his small jars and his small items that he owned. As is known, the soul of a righteous individual comprises 248 spiritual members, each one of which possesses sparks from a number of the souls of other righteous individuals. All the divine beneficence that is granted to him is given as well for the sake of all the souls of those other righteous people who are dependent upon him. This is why the righteous people value their possessions, since they are aware that they are granted them from above. So this is true, by the way, of course, with everybody and everything. It's just the fact that whenever God puts something in our realm, it's because there are particular missions that our soul has to go through, and therefore we can look at all of our belongings as sparks, because the reason why we have those belongings is in order to elevate them, to extrapolate the hidden divine spark of light inside the mundane matter. For example, it could be a nice house. And thank God a person is blessed to have a beautiful home. But when a person uses it to do kindness and to invite others and to be of a sharing mode, etc., then a person is extrapolating the sparks that are in the possessions that Hashem has given them. Let's go back to the reading over here. There's a great story about this with the righteous people being given exactly what they need. According to the sages, there are 248 members, limbs, and organs of the physical body. And as much as the soul possesses powers exactly corresponding to these 248 members, which it enlivens, we may speak of the 248 spiritual limbs of the soul, referring to these powers that enliven and govern the 248 members of the body. So by fulfilling his God-ordained mission in this world, we're talking about Jacob, but in general, a righteous person, the righteous person is completing the work begun by the righteous people who preceded him, and in this sense may be considered to be actualizing the potential of these souls and endowing them with a measure of completion and fulfillment they did not realize while they were in their own bodies. So, again, he's mentioning the righteous. I'm just saying from what I've learned in the Arizal's teachings, this refers to if you have an neshama. And righteous doesn't mean you have to be a tzaddik in this case. But the point is that the matter is that which come into our being is part of a longer story. We're just piece of that story, and the piece of the story that we're carrying with us is also carrying all of that energy of other souls that we may be carrying along with us on this journey, is what is being said. Cognizant of this, a righteous person will realize that all the divine beneficence granted to him during his life is not merely for the sake of fulfilling his own personal mission in this world, but also for completing the missions of those who preceded him. He will value his possessions not only because they enable him to accomplish his purpose in revealing divinity in the world, but also because they enable him to enhance the stature and state of completion of the souls of those who preceded him. So a story comes to mind in this regard. I recall when a big supporter of the Rebbe and his projects decided it was time for the Rebbe to get a new car. He knew if he would ask the Rebbe would say no. So he built a custom, brand new Cadillac that the Rebbe wouldn't have to bend down when he got into it like you usually have to. When the car pulled up, the Rebbe looked at his driver, who was also a secretary, said, "What's this?" And really, they told him that I'm not interested. I want to bring back my old car. So it's interesting. There's different ways in which we can understand that story, but in this context, who knows what souls, what energies were accompanying the Rebbe when he was saying his prayers, etc., in those physical matters, as we're talking about Jacob, when Jacob went back to go get the pots and pans. Understanding that all physical matter really is spiritual, but it's having a physical experience, but being present to the spiritual within it is what allows for this type of response to occur. It is not fitting that a righteous person disdains such things, for if nothing could be accomplished by giving them to him, God would not have given them to him. So it's very interesting. A person came by, there's a video I saw recently, a person came by the Rebbe and gave him keys to a building in Australia saying, "Rebbe, I want this to be yours, you should own it." The Rebbe said, "I don't need to own it. Do good things, do the things, I don't want to own it." So it's so interesting because it really falls into this thing. Like the Rebbe was very cognizant of what he accepted as gifts and etc. Understanding the magnitude of what comes along with that. This is therefore why Jake, and by the way, that's what the Talmud says, a person lives a longer life when they don't take gifts. If people give things to the Rebbe would respond for a book or whatever he's got to pay. He would always give them something. This is therefore why Jacob returned to collect the small jars and the like. For had he not returned, it would have appeared as though he did not value them. Everything granted to a person from above must be cared for. He therefore went back for them to show how dear they were to him. As he prepares to battle with Esau's angel, Jacob summons all the godly energy he needs for this battle. Always cognizant of his own lack of merit, he makes sure to enlist the merit of the spiritual energies of all righteous souls in the cosmic battle between good and evil, at whatever level. This is signified by his attention to detail, how he values the elements of others' struggle within his own. So this is a commentary on the Arizal by Rabbi Moshe Wozniacki, beautifully said. But this was the spiritual preparation by Yaakov going back for the small pots and pans. It was a spiritual preparation for him to be able to have that which he needs to overcome that which is the opposition, which is Esau's angel first, and then meeting Esau himself. Likewise, in each individual's personal struggle with evil, it is paramount that he wages the war not on his own merits alone, but that the merits of the righteous of all generations combined with his own and their combined energy outweighs that evil. The individual should realize the centrality and importance of his struggle through his efforts the efforts of all generations are given meaning and hopefully fulfillment. That's the end of this particular teaching. As I said, it's a short teaching. And I wanted to say one more thing about that. It's not related really to this exactly, but it's interesting. I know that Arizal doesn't bring it up in this particular teaching, but this coming up week, we're going to be celebrating the day of the release, where the first Chabad Rebbe was released from prison. It's actually become the New Year's for Hasidism. When he was running away from Napoleon, he knew that Napoleon knew Kabbalah. So when he ran away from Napoleon, he had stuff in the house and he wanted everything out of the house. Because just by holding on to something from somebody else, Kabbalistically, there's an energy connection there, which I'm not familiar with all the details of it. Having said that, the Alter Rebbe, the first Chabad Rebbe, which you could do more research on, and he wrote the Tanya, Rabbi Shneir Zalman of Liadi, the first Chabad Rebbe. So, having said that, the first Chabad Rebbe instructed that they burn the house down. And when Napoleon came, he was looking everywhere to try to find something that he could hold on to. And anyway, it wasn't that much longer, by the way, that the Rebbe had passed away, which was unexpected. Anyway, takeaway from today is God gave you and me and gave us whatever God gave us in our sphere, and there's a reason for it because there's energy there, and not only is our own energy there, but there's also the energy of all the generations that have invested in everything that they did to give us and to make us who we are today. Something we have to never ever forget and always be cognizant of. God bless you. Have a good Shabbos. If you have any questions or comments, please do forward them to Rabbi@jewishmalibu.com or